Good evening and welcome to the Job Search Solution, the radio program where we talk about looking for a job, changing jobs, changing careers, hiring. And as always, we begin with a prayer. Dear God, grant us thy peace and thy mercy, thy will be done. I wanted to remind everybody listening to this video that this radio broadcast is done every evening from 8:30 to 9 p.m. on KWRD FM 100.7 FM here in Dallas. So tune in. I wanted to discuss in this particular session something that I wrote about over the weekend and wrote a blog about, and it got such attention that I thought it was necessary for me to discuss it in this video and on the air. And it had to do with Greg, who's an old candidate of mine. He calls me up and says, Tony, I took a job here in the last 3 months, and the company I'm with is going to make me take the vaccine. I'm not going to take the vaccine. And so if I quit, can you find me a job? Well, this whole vaccine thing is going to get more complicated before it gets easier. Everybody's read about what's going on with Southwest Airlines and the things that they are involved there, but employers are being affected. We've had a number of employers lately that have said, look, if the person hasn't been vaccinated, don't send them, because our policy is that everybody here needs to be vaccinated. Well, this is a dilemma, and this is going to be a real challenge. Now, I'm the last guy in the whole world that ever wants to see the government or anybody impose any more things on our personal freedom than they do already. I've always been one that bucked the system. Back in the 60s, when I was in the Army, I filed for conscientious objection. It took me 3.5 years to get it. And I did it peacefully and assertively, but nonetheless, I didn't agree with what we were doing. But there were alternatives that I could have had once I got it. It's a long story as to what went on, but the issue is I'm the last guy in the world that just says, go do what everybody says to do. But Greg is now in a real difficult position. Greg says he's going to resign and wants me now to find him a job. Now, how is it going to look to a prospective employer if a candidate goes into an interview and says, I left my last job after 3 months because they told me I was going to get vaccine. I had to get the vaccine, and I'm not going to get the vaccine. Whatever the reason is, be it religious, be it stubbornness, be it medical, whatever, I'm not going to get the vaccine. So they let me go. So that's why I'm here looking for a job. Now, how is that going to come across to a prospective employer? They don't know Greg's moral ethic. They don't know Greg's work ethic. It's just too easy to pass Greg up and go on to another candidate where they may not have that problem. Even if the company doesn't require a vaccination, they're going to wonder, well, is this guy a malcontent? Is he just going to make trouble with our company over stuff that doesn't matter? And I don't even know that I can trust that. So they're going to move on to another candidate. So my moral obligation is to help people get jobs and help people keep jobs. Been doing it since 1973. So my recommendation to Greg was get the shot. The worst of the evils is to lose your job. Try to explain that to someone else and then have them be concerned that you won't be in agreement with a lot of the other things they do and then not hire you. Whether I agree with the shot, I happen to have gotten the third shot, but I'm 73, and the downside of the risk of the shot is less than the downside of the risk of getting COVID. You have to make that decision up for yourself, but I have a moral obligation to talk to people about their jobs and their careers. So my suggestion is take the shot. You got to keep your job. And if you lose your job over not getting the shot, and then you try to explain that to a prospective employer, unless there's going to be a rare employer that'll think that that's okay, you're running a real big risk of being out of work for a long time and being perceived as a malcontent. You may not be at all. I'm not a malcontent. I conform to lots of stuff, but it's just not worth that risk. So please think about this. Standing up for your rights, I understand, but make sure there's a reasonable alternative. If you lose your job over a vaccine and then try to explain that to a prospective employer, you're going to have a problem. I'm going to have a problem explaining that to an employer because there are too many other candidates that these people can choose from, and you may very well not get hired because of it. So think about the consequences of what you're doing. Do what you think's best, but realize this is not going to be an easy thing to deal with. And most employers aren't going to be sure of exactly what to do. But if they hear you say, I quit my job because I wouldn't take the vaccine, it's going to be a red flag to them, and they're going to be very concerned. All right, we're going to take a short break. Stay tuned. This is Tony Bashara with the Job Search Solution.